Good morning, everybody. This is Carolyn. Let me see if I'm doing this for the first time. So if you could let me know that you can see me. You can hear me and see me. Perfect. Awesome. That's interesting. I just have this really little screen of mine. Okay, awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to talk about 50K clients, 20K clients, 10K clients, whatever your heart's desire is this morning. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes for people to arrive. And let me just make sure that we're recording. Good morning, Shiloh. Great. Okay, so it looks like we're all set. The recording is on. That's always a big thing, right? Are we recording? Yes, we are. Good. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Carolyn Hauser-Carson. I'm the creatrix of the Pleasure IQ and the Pleasure Whisperer. I'm a published author. My first book, Blossom, Your 7-Step Journey to Healing Childhood Sexual Abuse and Creating Your Dream Life, was chosen as one of the top 10 picks by Neil Donald Walsh's agent. Neil Donald Walsh is the guy who wrote Conversations with God, and his agent picked my book, Blossom, as one of the top 10 picks in the 2012 Transformational Author Contest. I'm currently working on a book deal. I can't say much, but if it comes through, it will be really nice. We'll be with Eckhart Tolle's publisher, so yay. I'll share my story in a little bit more detail, but so much about me for now. I just wanted to make sure that you can rest assured and know that you're in the right place. So today, this training is specifically for you. If you do have a desire, if when you see somebody talk about 50K sales, 100K sales, 10K sales, 25K sales, if that either makes you jealous or triggers something in you, or you go, man, that should be me. Like, what does she have that I don't have? Right? If that's you, you're in the right place. It's also for you if you are having trouble selling at your current lower price point. And I'll share with you why that is later. And it's for you if you have an existing business and you have a full practice, but you don't have any time because you're selling, you have an hourly rate. You maybe sell at $200 an hour, $300 an hour, but there's just so many hours. You might have children, you might have, and as a therapist or as any kind of transformational light worker, truth be told is that it takes energy, right? You can't just do 10 sessions a day, right? If you could do 10 sessions a day, you could maybe make 2,000 a day. You could make 10,000 a week if you worked 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, but that's not sustainable, right? So if you're someone who's working really hard and has a full practice, but you're stuck at like 5 to 10K, this is going to be for you too. So today we're going to talk about all the fears that come with charging higher. Some of them are, well, will I ever get it? Will people see the value? What do I have to, I don't know what to put in an offer that sells at that high level. What will my friends think? What will my life be like? There's lots of fears around that, and we'll address all of those. And then we'll also talk about the how. How do you even attract people at that level? So if that sounds good, let me know. I can see you guys in the chat. So if all of that sounds good, let me know. And then I'm going to share with you as much as I can. I'm planning to go like for an hour, and we might go over a little bit. So it might be 75 minutes by the time we're done. And I'm going to share with you. Sounds freaking great. Awesome. Good. I'm also going to share with you at the end how you can get more help and how you can take this further if you like. So I'm going to start with sharing my story because I know that I learn from stories best, and my story is no different than yours probably. My life was very different just 4 years ago, and probably like you, ever since I can remember really having a dream like about working, when I was 20, 21, I had this feeling that I should be one of the top people in the transformation industry. And you have to realize at that time I was living in Germany in a small town. There was like no sign of me ever being that person, right? But I had this feeling, and chances are that you have this, you just have this pull inside of you that tells you that you're meant for greatness, that you have amazing skills, you have amazing gifts, and you're meant to be a leader. And so I had that niggling feeling, but even like, so it started when I was 20, even at 34, my life didn't look like that was going to be happening. I had been married at that time, had 2 small kids, and I was the support person. Even though I had this really strong feeling that if we banked on me and invested in me and supported me, we would be very well off. Other people didn't see it that way. Financial advisors didn't see it that way. So I was a support person, and I was dying inside because all I was doing was doing diapers and doing dishes and doing diapers and doing dishes and then cleaning up toys. And if you've ever been there, and when you have a big purpose, it tears you apart when you're feeling so stuck. And so that led to me getting really sick, having adrenal burnout and chronic fatigue, and having a complete physical collapse. And one evening I literally collapsed when my then husband came home, and I just told him I literally could not do it anymore. I was just at the end of my ropes. My kids were home with me all day. My son was 16 months old. He was like full of energy, climbing on top of me all the time. And I was scared he was going to fall off and hit his head on the tiles. And I had no energy. Like at 5 o'clock in the evening, I would get a little energy to, for like a couple hours to do something. So it was horrible. So that night when he came home and I told him that I just couldn't do this anymore, he just said, he didn't mean anything bad or anything. He just said, well, you wanted to be a mother. And for me, what that translated to was, well, you just got to sacrifice yourself completely. And it was so painful that I just left my body and hovered under the ceiling. And my kids were on top of me crying. They didn't know what was going on. And even that didn't make me want to come back. And that was scary, because I love my kid. I mean, my kids are, my everything besides my husband, my now husband, Paul, obviously. And so that was very scary. And but then something else happened. A voice said to me, your work isn't done. And that brought me back into my body. And then for 5 days, I was suspended in like a very different state of consciousness. And a lot of things became clear. And one of the main things that became clear is that if I wanted to be the person I knew I came here to be and live my full potential, and if I wanted to have everything that came with being that person, I needed to make decisions radically differently. And I needed to develop what I now call a pleasure IQ. And so pleasure IQ is a person's level of ability to allow themselves pleasure in all areas of your life. And it doesn't just work in one area. Like if you allow yourself to feel good and have what you want in one area but not in other, you're not going to be completely successful. So we're going to be talking about that today a lot, because behind my success, I'm going to tell you what I've been able to do since then. Really, that core principle of developing my pleasure IQ is responsible for everything. And there's some practical things, but everything in the universe is energy. It's made of energy, and we are energetic being. And everything that we want is already here. It's literally here within our reach. Most of us are too depressed, too depleted, to think too limited or feel too limited in order to actually see the ways and the opportunities and the pathways that are already around you right now that would lead you to the fulfillment of your heart's desires. So what I've been able to, I left my marriage. During that time we went through bankruptcy, and obviously our marriage wasn't going anywhere. So I left my marriage, and with that, I was completely financially responsible overnight because I'm from Germany. My family is all in Germany. I don't have family support here. I didn't have credit because I came from Germany. I wasn't able to build credit here, and then I had the bankruptcy. And we had no savings. So all I had was like me, right? and the pull inside and the knowing that I was meant for something greater, and Facebook showing me other people that I knew, I was not very different from them, that were killing it. And so I knew it had to be possible because it was possible for others. And so since then, I have met my divine partner. Some people call it twin flame, but he's really the person that I knew was out there for me all along, and have been looking for, and is my complement. So we got married last year, and have been doing amazing things together. My company has grown to a multi six-figure company a year, and in the beginning, when I first started, because I was still so sick, I literally only had 5 hours of energy that I could put into my business. And I was able to build a full-time income on those 5 hours a week. I had 15 hours a week without the kids. 10 hours I put into myself and my self-care. And then 5 hours I did some of the things I'm going to share with you today that helped me then to create a full-time income. And then from there, so my first month was, I think, $5,000 cash and $7,500 booked. And then from there, it stayed there for a while. And then it went up to, I think, 11 months later, I had my first 22K booked month and 10K cash. And then it's just gone up from there. And I work more now. Obviously, I have more energy, and I have clients now and I have more things to do. But I still, when I say I work, I spend time on my computer and doing stuff for my business, probably like 4 or 5 days a week from like 10 to 2. And sometimes, right now, for example, when I'm in the throes of getting a book deal and there's resubmissions and stuff, I'll stay up late, or I'll work in the evenings sometimes. But that's one day here and there, and I do it because it's for a purpose, right? So the reason why I'm telling you my story is that I want you to understand that I didn't have any special circumstances that allowed me to make money. I had a very bad money mindset. I'd never made any money until I was 35. I'm not from a family with money. My parents are both teachers, and I didn't see myself as someone with money when I started. Selling. So most of you are already selling, which is great, and some of you might have come from money, right? So when we talk about high-end selling, obviously we have to talk about money and our relationship to money. And money is just a tool. Money is just a representation. And for us as women, speaking for myself, our self-worth is completely tied to it, right? And when we can learn to untie that and get a little bit more practical about it, it really helps. So I want to give you an analogy of, and I'm just choosing this analogy because I think it will illustrate a point. And I want to show you by this analogy what really the first step is in bringing more ease into your life and charging higher fees and attracting higher paying clients. So just go with it for a moment. So just imagine for a moment that you had two choices in terms of businesses, what you could choose. And they're both car dealerships. One is a used car dealership. One is a Porsche car dealership. Both businesses take the same amount of time to run. They take the same amount of resources to run. It's all the same. Now, when you make that choice, or thinking about making that choice, think about what would come with making that choice. So if you choose to go with the used car dealership, a used car dealership attracts a certain type of audience, right? It's people that usually don't have that much money. They have different values. When you have a used car dealership, you don't necessarily have to have a nice office. You can do things maybe a little bit more under the table. You probably don't need somebody, you don't need fresh flowers. There's just certain things that business requires, right? And then when you think of like the Porsche dealership, you would have to run that business a little differently, right? It would have to look different. You'd have to be different. The people that would be attracted by a Porsche dealership are people with money, right? You'd probably have less people that don't have money. And so it's the same in our industry. And there's no value judgment which one is better or not better. The fact is there's used car dealerships and they have a need, and there's high-end car dealerships and they have a purpose and a need and an audience that's connected to it. So where you come in, or where I came in, or where most of us come in, is that what we're used to, we're not Porsche buyers. We're not in that circle, right? That's not our world. We're more in the low-end used. That's where we're familiar, and that's what we kind of grew up with, maybe, or that's just what's more familiar to us. And also, it seems easier to start, probably. It seems easier to start a used car dealership than like a high-end, really beautiful, decked out with like lots of, systems, and where everything has to run smoothly. And so it seems maybe there's more of a learning curve where it's more complicated or so forth. The fact is, the reason, I'm just giving you these examples because at any moment you can choose in which world you serve, whether you serve in the low end or the high end, and eventually you can do both, right? There's nothing, like I said, it's not a value judgment. But the fact is, Porsches are going to be sold all the time, no matter what the economy is, because people with money want their stuff, right? So it's up to you to make a choice which market you want to serve. And I know for myself, I had trouble allowing myself to serve that market, or to see myself as somebody who could serve at that market and be somebody who would be not an equal, but at that level, maybe. Let's put it that way. All of the fears that you guys shared in the Pleasure IQ group, not like the fear that people won't see the value, not knowing what to put into your offers, all of that will go away, because if you have a Porsche, the Porsche in itself has the value. So if it's not so much about you and your offer, it's much more about the market that you're serving. That's the point I want to bring across. So it's up to you to allow yourself to serve at the high-end level, the Porsche level, in any market. So let's say you're a health coach, or let's say you're a relationship coach. In any niche, there's people that have money and people that don't have money. And somebody is serving those people with money. You've seen the people that charge $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and they have clients that pay it, because people with money do want a different kind of a service, and they like paying for it. They don't mind paying for it, because they get a different quality of service, right? And so all those fears go away when you allow yourself to really show up at that next level, right? So when you're serving at a higher level, you need to really fully show up with your skills. You need to have your best game on. And so sometimes, you might not know what that is yet, and that's okay. There's help for that. But the decision is really, the first thing is really about allowing, and remember in the beginning I told you that behind my success and really my client's success is their ability so their pleasure IQ, they have learned to increase their pleasure IQ, which means your ability to allow yourself, level of ability to allow yourself pleasure in all areas. it would probably be more fun for you to work at a Porsche dealership than at a used car sales dealership, to be honest, right? So you're the one that's allowing it or not. And allowing is not a philosophical concept. Allowing is a very practical thing that we do. For example, if you were to, if your dream was to become an Olympic ice skater, and you were not even going to the store picking up ice skates, or you wouldn't go at least once a day for an hour to practice ice skating, you're not allowing yourself your dream. And so it's the same with high-end selling. There's skills that come with it and certain things that come with it. And if you don't do them, then that's how you're not allowing yourself to have it. And this might sound strange, but if you're struggling right now selling at a lower level, if you're struggling selling $300 packages or $500 packages or even $2,500 packages, and you're thinking, well, how in the world could I then sell $10,000 packages? Just realize that right now you're in the used car dealer lot and there's people that have no money. So for them, $300 is a lot of money. $2,500 is a humongous amount of money, right? So it's much more of a stretch and much more difficult to sell to them than if you would go to the Porsche dealership where people come that have 100 and 200,000, a million, whatnot, and to them $10,000 is like, to somebody else 300, right? So it's all relative because money is, like I said, money is just a tool. It really has no intrinsic value. The universe doesn't know the difference between 1, 10, a million, a billion. So allowing yourself to serve at a higher level starts with you seeing yourself differently. So who do you need to be? Do you have to dress differently? Do you have to speak differently? Do you have to treat yourself differently? And all of that has to do with developing your pleasure IQ. So I wanted to share with you the how also of how to get high-end clients, obviously, because that's what most people, how do I get them? How do I find them? And I'll just share with you how it was. The honest answer is, I don't know the how. I know that's an unexpected answer, but the reason why I'm saying that is because the how is always up to the universe, right? So what I know about manifesting and creating is that everything that you want is already here. And this is based not on me and it's based on me and my experience, but also really based on a spiritual law, the spiritual law of polarity, which states that nothing in the universe was created half. An up was created with a down, masculine with the feminine, left with the right, demand with the supply, a desire with the fulfillment. Right? A desire and its fulfillment make a thing whole. So that means that you could not have a desire for something. You couldn't have a desire to serve at a 50K level, 30K level, 10K level, if the person that wanted to be served at that level wouldn't already also be there. So isn't that mind-blowing? So when we can trust in the universal laws and know that our work is then to bring ourselves vibrationally up to speed and stay in an affirmative state, or I call it a non-resistant state, right? Where we don't worry, where we don't need to know the how, and where we do the things that we can do. That's where the allowing part comes in. So to illustrate this point and to make it, so I've used this virtual principle and applied it and made it practical in my business, and this is how I help my clients. Based on the spiritual law, it means that if you have a desire to serve at a high level, the other person who wants to be served is already in existence. It's not a concept. It's not a conceptual group. It's a real person. One of my superpowers is that I'm an intuitive and I'm really good at family constellations. And so I combine those two things to actually read. I can tell you who that person is. I can do it for romantic relationships. I can do it for business stuff, right? Because I can read energy, so I can read anything that's in existence. It's not something that's made up or a hypothesis or just an assumption. So because I know that, it is really easy to find out who your people are. I call them soulmate clients. And so when you know who they are, like when I step into them, I actually can feel why they would want to work with you and what words you need to use and what their true pain is and what they really want help with. Because when you're selling high end, you're not selling 500 days and 7 CDs and whatnot, or your process. I'm not selling family constellations. I tried to do that and I didn't make any money. What people buy is the result and the trust and belief that with your help, they can get the result. So literally in a sales conversation, my offer part is, there's a certain process that you take people through in a sales conversation, and you listen for what it is that they say they want. If they say, well, I already have all the time in the world, but I'm just not making the money that I want, or, I'm actually pretty, obviously it would be nice to have a better business, but I'm really worried about my relationship because I've been working so much on my business, and so depending on what people say to me, that's what I'm going to sell them, because that's what I'm going to help them with. Obviously, if I'm qualified with it, right? If you came to me and told me that, yes, you need to change your business, but the reason why you need to change your business is so that your marriage doesn't fall apart, then when it comes to making my offer, I'll tell you, I'll help you change your business so that, your marriage doesn't fall apart. Somebody else wants to change their business so that they can live remotely or so that they can travel and work on a laptop. I help them essentially with very similar things, but one person buys something completely different than the other, right? So I didn't need to spend 5 months to come up with my offer. I know that I have to have a container for people, right? It usually takes a certain amount of time to help people, especially like in my case, when you're really building a business and attracting clients and so forth, it takes a while. Other things, like if you were somebody to help somebody with a relationship issue, for example, sometimes that can, that just needs a month. It doesn't take much longer to work through deep wounds and stuff like that. So it just depends on what really the best way of prescription is for people to get the results that you help them with. But you don't need to spend years and months and sales pages and whatnot to figure that out, right? And a lot of people, that's where you get stuck. You think, oh God, what am I going to sell? You're selling them what they want, and you help them with your tools. And so when people don't move forward, it's either because they don't trust that you are that person. So you really need to know that you have something, and you need to feel confident in your abilities, right? And a lot of people get tripped up around like promising results, and I can't really tell people that I can't really promise results. And that is not quite true, because I can tell you from the people that I will say this to everybody who works with me, if you trust the process and if you do the things that come out of the process, I'm not going to tell you things that are unethical or that will require you to work yourself into the ground. But if you do the things that come through spirit for you to do, and if you do them, and if you do the inner work, you will get the results. It's not rocket science, right? I'm not making the results. I'm just here as a conduit. I'm here to hold you accountable. I'm here to help you. I have certain skills that come in handy. I have some experiences because I've done something that you haven't done. But other than that, and this is actually one of the secrets behind my success actually was that I had a coach who had already sold at 50K, right? So she could hold it for me that it was possible. I still had to do all the inner work and do the stuff, but for her, it was like, when you don't know how to ride a bike, and somebody, let's say you already know how to ride a bike, and somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, I will never be able to ride a bike. Oh my God, this is so wobbly, and how could this ever work? And this doesn't make sense. And how could I ever go like on this bicycle?" And you're like, "It's so easy. You just do it, right?" So because you've mastered it, and so if you have a person to them it's normal, then obviously it's super helpful because they can help you to manage your anxiety along the way and just help you get back on the bike and say, "Okay, this is how you do it. Just do it. Just do it. You'll I'll let go at some point and you'll do it." There's no doubt in their mind, right? There's no doubt if you taught somebody how to ride a bike, there would be no doubt in your mind that they could do it. And so it's the same when you're selling high end. If you have somebody who's done it, there's no doubt in my mind that you can do it. I did it. You can do it. And that's hugely beneficial, obviously. So in my case, the way it went down was that I knew for a long time that I wanted to sell like at 30 or 40 or 50K. That felt right to me. It just felt right in my soul. There was no other explanation. I was living in a 2-bedroom place, cramped in with a roommate when I wanted to do that. And, was not a person with money or anything. And so it was a big stretch for me to even think that, oh my God, how could anybody want anything from me? Like, look how I'm living. And that was a year before it started becoming reality. But I actually started making offers to random people at 30K, and obviously they laughed at me and they're like, "What do you think? Like, that's outrageous, right?" And so I got all those objections, and because I didn't know that I was in the used car dealer lot trying to sell a $70,000 Porsche. Like, nobody would do that, right? It wouldn't make any sense. So, and then along the way, I found out about the soulmate clients and figured that part out, and I trained people in it because I can't do it I don't know anybody who can do it for themselves. I can't do it for myself. So I trained other people. And then I had, at the beginning of the year, 2 years ago, I had a soulmate client reading, found out who my soulmate clients were. And one of the groups were women that wanted to be served at the 50K level by me. And so I found that out in February. And then, so I knew that they were there, right? I have enough trust in the process because I've helped people find their romantic partners that way. And I've had helped my clients find their clients that way. So I had trust in the process. I knew it worked. So I knew that they were there. I had no idea about the how. But I also knew, that spiritual principle is that the how is really up to the universe. It's my task to stay out of the how as best as I can. That means, not fretting, not worrying, relaxing, trusting, and so forth. And the reason actually why this is so important is that when we are relaxed, when you're relaxed, you have access to your whole frontal cortex and your higher creative faculties. And you need to have access to those. Otherwise, you will not see the way or the way in which you will actually arrive at the thing that you want. So when you're stressed out, when you're in fight or flight, when you're in survival, when you're worried, your brain capacity is literally, it's very limited. And you won't have the creative ideas that will ultimately bring you to, in this case, the clients. So the whole year, I had no clue how it's going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. And I had a feeling it was going to happen around October. So for that whole year, I just really stayed in expectation. Obviously, there was days where I was stressed and so forth, but I made it my priority to just take care of myself, to dance, go out in nature, have fun, and enjoy everything that I was doing. And I started getting opportunities for speaking, and I started attracting different people. And then October rolled around, and my coaches were saying, well, you need to put on like a lavish event, or you need to do this, or you need to do, you need to go speak at big stages where where these types of women, you know, like successful entrepreneurial women would be. And none of that felt right. So I really, part of having a high pleasure IQ is following what feels right and good to you. And the truth is, there is no, at that point, there was nobody in the industry that did what I was doing. Like people that sold at like 10K, 20K, 50K, they usually had huge funnels. They had big lists. They did this whole ta-da where people went through a 3-day event, and then from there they got sold up into like a 10K program. And I just didn't have the energy for it. I was like, no, this doesn't make sense. Doesn't feel right to me. I have 2 small kids, and I like spending time with them. And I also, I wanted time for my relationships. So then one morning, I remember I was just like, okay, it has to happen now because it just feels like it's the time. And then I was really relaxed. Like in the morning, I was laying in bed, and then the light bulb went off. Right? When you're relaxed, the light bulb can actually go off. And I knew exactly who it was meant for. It was somebody who was already my client. And sure enough, I called her. I talked to her. It was a 20-minute conversation at most. And then it was a done deal. And it was the easiest sale in my entire career because she was my soulmate client, and she was already waiting. She wanted to have support at that level, right? She was literally waiting for me. Like, she's like, oh my God, Des, this is so exciting. Thanks. And then November and, Christmas time rolled around, and I was even sick during Christmas break. So I had kids at home. I had a stomach flu, and despite all of that, I attracted 4 more and enrolled 4 more people at the 50K level during that time. So that just shows you that I didn't even have a website or a sales page or anything, right? So the how looks different for everybody, and it has to do with developing or increasing your pleasure IQ and really keeping your energy in a good place so that your brain can receive the light bulbs. And then obviously, you need to take action on those light bulb moments. Throughout that year, I felt really inspired to put together a little course on speaking. And so I followed that impulse, and then that led to attracting the right people and so forth. So the how will look different, the strategy will look different for everybody, but the way is already there. That I can tell you. So that's my story. And I know that it's the same for you. I've had clients where they came to me and they had sold maybe at the 10K level and then struggled for a while, and then came and we just channeled a gesture for them that they were supposed to do every day, and she did it. And within like 3 days, she said in the morning with a specific gesture, she'd go on a walk, run into somebody who had a dog, whose name was Bodhi, and there's a Bodhi tree, a bookstore in LA, which is a metaphysical bookstore. And so she said, well, Bodhi, I know the Bodhi tree bookstore. And so they started talking, and then this woman became her, I think, 36K client, right? So everything that you want is already here. And it looks like magic when it happens. But the truth is, most people, first of all, don't know that what you want is already here. And then secondly, they don't allow themselves to have it. And we could talk about why that is, in much more depth. A lot of it has to do with shame and guilt and programming that's not even from us, that's from our ancestors. That could be a whole nother conversation, a whole other talk. But the main thing I want you really to take from today is that if you have a desire to serve at a high level, these people are there. You'll have to change your self-image, but you can. I did it somehow, Yeah. Great question. You can ask some questions. We have a little time. So Deborah is asking if the 50K is over a period of a year. Yeah. In this case, it was. But it doesn't have to be, for some people, I paid 50. I actually did. This was a question that came up before. is it necessary to have invested the same amount of money? And I don't think it's necessary. In my case, and I don't think it's necessary to have invested that with one person. You might have invested a total sum of 20 or 60,000, so that you have an experience of investing. I had invested 50,000 for just like 4 months with someone before I ever enrolled 50K people. And even though I did that, I didn't make the connection. I saw myself with someone with no money and had already made a commitment to 50K. So it's actually, it's yeah, it's not just the people with money, but also the people that really need what you have and are ready to create the change, right? So I didn't actually make the connection that I had already invested with one person the 50K. So it didn't necessarily help me in my mindset, to feel more confident that I could charge at that level. I had to keep telling myself, man, you did that yourself. Like, why do you and for me, when I did it, it was scary, but it also it didn't feel like a crazy thing to do or like a huge amount of money, So I had to keep reminding myself of that. And in the greater scheme of things, it's not. So let me just see real quick. So the question, what was the single most important thing you feel you did that shifted the poverty mindset you had? It's a really good question. Really just trusting that my soulmate clients were real and holding on to that faith and belief and not allowing myself to go into like, oh my God, how it's going to happen, or not too long. I mean, I did go there, but not too long. And just trusting that it was real, that they really wanted it and that it was easy. And then having the guts to actually make that phone call. And then, the experience that confirmed my belief, and that together really made the shift. Okay, next question. What daily practice would be the most beneficial to unravel the self-defeating story inside? What kind of thoughts do you think throughout the day? Trusting my soulmate clients are real and so forth. It's a good question. I have an advantage because I've been doing family constellations for 20 years, and I know, I've seen them work miracles. So it's not hard for me to trust and believe anymore, right? It's not something that I have the belief because I've seen it, right? It's hard to believe in something that you've never seen and experienced yourself. And really, the single best thing you can do is hire somebody who, for them, it's not, there's belief in something that you think is possible, and you just believe in it, like hoping it is real. And then there's belief and knowing, and it's different. And you won't have the knowing until you've done it, like you won't have that kind of belief until you've done it. There's nothing that can replace that. So the closest thing to that is having a person. For them, it's already real. That can't just stand there and help you. And so what thoughts do I think? I actually don't do it. So this is another really big secret, or one of my main tools. Negative thoughts are actually a symptom. What comes before the thoughts is emotions. Right? Chances are that something happened when you were little, or even with your ancestors, that made them feel worthless or less than, or doubt themselves or small. And it's literally in your DNA. It is in your body. It is in your physical makeup, in your nervous system, in your being, in your brain, in all of your cells. So just thinking differently will not change that. And knowing that, you can start working with your emotions by allowing yourself to feel them so you can actually transform them. So instead of working with the negative thoughts and trying, I'm actually not a mindset coach. I don't work with mindset at all, right? I work with the underlying emotions, because when you're able to heal, transmute, transform, integrate the underlying negative experiences that created, or the emotional imprint that created, all the negative thoughts go away. So it's much more powerful. So what I've learned is to recognize when I'm looping or not feeling good, and then to put my energy into my body and help myself feel through the feelings, or really helping. Family constellations are tremendously powerful. So I have people that help me with them. You can't do them for yourself, so I have people that help me with them, and it's tremendously powerful. Okay, so next. Okay, I really struggle with the idea of changing how I look or dress. Can you speak more about your opinion of this? I understand that being professional and presentable is important, but did you do this yourself, or was it an incremental process? Actually, this is a great question, because I don't know if you guys know me from before. So same thing with like feeling like I was meant for greatness is the same thing with my look and my style. I mean, I've always looked good. It's not that I didn't look good. I had long blonde hair and I was dressed nicely, but I always felt like I didn't really dress the way that would feel right, that would express my being. And then this is the funny thing, when you start aligning yourself with everything. So then something came into my life that's called Dressing Your Truth, and it's all about finding out how to dress yourself so that people recognize you for who you are. You're true, like dressing with your energy. And so I started having fun with that and learning about my energy type, and it's so funny because my style suggestions and colors would have been colors I would have never picked, because I was so shy and so forth. And now that I'm wearing them, you can see them, like the blue and the really snug dresses and my haircut and everything is so different. But boy, do I feel so much better about myself, right? And it came from things, yeah. And like I said, not that I looked bad before, but this is like me. I woke up in the mornings and would look at my hair and like, oh, what do I do with this long hair? I'm so bored with myself, right? And now I feel like, yeah, this is me. I look like me. So do yourself a favor. Do Dressing Your Truth. It's like a $99 online course by, what's her name? Carol Tuttle. You can find finding your style and dressing your next version doesn't mean you have to go into a pantsuit. It's just the next more authentic expression of yourself. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I do wear a little makeup now for the web show, but most of the time I don't wear makeup and stuff. So there's different things that really will accentuate you, and for me, it was total fun to learn that and to do it, and part of really developing my pleasure IQ in that area too. So great question. I hope this is helpful. The mind cannot combat the mind. This is why mindset work is not the most effective way to move forward, and is sometimes entirely ineffective. Yeah, it's just because when you know the truth that the negative thoughts or negative states are created by your emotional states, then it just makes much more sense to go to the emotions, where you can take care of 50,000, 100,000 negative thoughts moving forward, right? So you just go to the source and change it there. Great. So I promised you in the beginning that I would share with you how you can get my help if you like. So if I was in a room, like when I'm speaking live at this point, I would say to all of you, the reason why I do this is because I believe that we all came here to have the best experience possible. And to me, the best experience includes serving at the highest. Like, I'm the most fulfilled when I can serve at the highest. And I'm assuming it's the same for you. And so as I am continuing to allow myself more and more, I want to take as many people as possible with me. And so if that's you, then yay. And because of that reason, I have a surprise for you. So then if you were in the room with me, I said, how many of you would think that you would benefit from some one-on-one with me? Raise your hand, and I hope I would see your hands. I don't know if you can raise your hands on this thing so I can see it. Maybe you can, but I'm just imagining to raise your hand. So I see a bunch of you raising your hands. Over the next week, summer is here, so I have a little bit more of an open schedule. I have some time to really go into some sessions with you and look at your business and show you what this could look like specifically for you, right? Maybe you're in a business where you don't see how you could even serve at that higher level, right? Or maybe you have some ideas and you just need some confirmation. So either way, these are complementary. They're my gift. They're here for me to you. You've gotten an email in your inbox. So if you want those sessions, they are limited, because obviously there's only so much time in the day. So make sure if you want one to submit your application right away. And like I said, we'll be in touch with you if you qualify, and we'll look at where you are, what you already have, where you want to go, and then show you kind of a plan on how you can get there. And I also promised you to share one more thing that really helps me tremendously to pretty much wipe out all fear around selling and closing and so forth, especially in a sales conversation. And so the mistake most people make is that when you're selling, you're completely focused on yourself. You're wondering what this other person is thinking, or how they will be feeling about you, what they will be thinking about you. And it's hard to sell or hard to help somebody. Essentially, when you're in a sales conversation, your task is to help somebody move through their fear and resistance to make a change, which they haven't been able to do up until that point. If they had been able to move through their resistance and make a change, they would have. And so they're there with you because they haven't been able. So they're not like, yay, I'm so happy that I'm here. They're like, I need help, and I wish I wouldn't need help, right? And all their defense mechanisms and their resistance will kick in. So first of all, you can't take that personally. You just need to know that that's part of it. Then you have to have a process that helps them really see that if they don't change, nothing's going to change. And you have to somehow convey to them that you can really help them. You have to show them how you would help them, and it has to make sense to them, right? And then when it comes to the money, you have to help them allow themselves to have what they want, right? They can have what they want. They just have to allow it themselves too. So when you're really committed to helping people have what they want, right? If you came to me and you would want to enroll higher paying clients in the next few months, I know I can help you. I know you can have it. I also know that you need help. So it's up to you to allow yourself that help, right? And there will be an investment, obviously, but most people, like me, I didn't have the 50K in the bank when I allowed myself that support. And boy, am I glad I did allow myself that support, because it's what catapulted me completely forward. Having that person trusting and having her believe that I could lean on. So, but I had to allow myself to make that decision. She knew that I could have what I wanted, right? But I actually had to have the faith and allow it to myself. And so when you're in a sales conversation, it's the same. It doesn't matter if it's around relationships, health, so many things that people need help with. So if you can be really, so my biggest tip around what's helped me to go from closing 1 in 10 people, to now almost closing everybody that I talk to that's the right fit, is to be really committed to helping that other person to allow themselves to have what it is that they say they want. Does that make sense? Great. Great. So I'm just thinking if there's anything else I wanted to share. Let me just look at my cheat sheet real quick. Oh, I was also gonna, yeah, the reason why you're having and I think I said this before, but I just want to say it again. If you're having a hard time selling at the lower fees, it's because it's harder to sell in the used car sales law, right? Where the people are that have no money than it is when you go to the Porsche dealership where the people are with money, right? It's much easier to sell to somebody who has money than to somebody who is not. And some of us this was me, it didn't feel fair, it didn't feel right, it felt like I was doing something, I was like betraying my people by having higher fees and so forth. But the truth of the matter is, like, when I allow myself to be resourced through serving at the higher level, that allows me then to have lower end programs. So if you feel like, well, you still want to serve the people that that don't have the money necessarily, there's ways to do it that don't take all your time and resources, right? You have to start putting yourself first and really manage your resources, because if you're burned out at the end of the day, you're not helping anybody, right? And so it's good, like Deborah is saying that she sold a 50K package, but it's difficult to hold the energy. Can you say a little bit more? You probably had a lot of expectations on yourself of what you needed to do for the 50K, right? Which is, you don't have to do more for the 50K than you do for a 12K. You there's not more required, really, right? It's a fear that comes with not having worked through money stuff, actually. So you said she did fantastic, but it was me. What do you mean by that? And the good thing to know is that we're never responsible. We're never responsible for the results, right? I create my own results. You create your results. Everybody creates their own results. And as long as you're just there to support as best as you can, you're doing okay. Yeah, you stressed yourself by feeling it wasn't enough. Yeah. So for you, the work is on feeling like you're enough, right? Because the other person got enough out of it. So a big part of this is obviously doing the inner work and looking at all the stuff that comes up, and it will come up. But that's great, because when the stuff comes up and you know how to deal with it, you become free, right? And ultimately, that's what we all want: to be free, to be who we are, and to serve at the highest level. So it's a great journey, actually, because it challenges you and it makes you a better person, and it definitely brings up all the stuff. Okay, the time link doesn't work. That's actually on purpose. We will reach out to you and schedule a time. So as soon as I'm getting off this call, I will reach out with some times to each and every one of you. And then Stefania is saying, this is also interesting because sometimes I can sell for the 800 package with ease, and other times can sell a $2,000 package to anyone. Yeah. Yeah, it's just part of who you're talking to, right? Great. So I hope this was helpful. I hope to shed some light onto the subject. I'm hoping to talk with as many as possible, as many of you as possible. It's been fun to do this. This was the first time me doing a web show. I think it kind of worked. Did you guys feel like I looked at you? I'm trying. I can't really see where I'm looking, so I've just been looking at the camera. Thanks for the feedback. Great. Anything you can do right now to release your emotions? Yeah, so the thing to do to release your emotions. Oh, and I wanted to tell you, I do daily, I call them Naked Truth now on my business page. And I also have a Facebook group where I do more extended versions on Wednesdays, Pleasure IQ community, where I help you guys with the emotional integration and keeping your energy in the right place and developing or increasing your pleasure IQ. So those are all resources that you can use that are there every day, complimentary, for free, there for the taking. And so the way to really deal with your emotions is just to allow yourself to feel them. It's not about acting them out. It's not about expressing them. It's about sensing them in your body and just allowing yourself to feel the sensation of it. So without judging it, without naming it, without going into the story, really just metabolizing the energy through sensing it in your body. And I talk about this a lot because even though this is so simple or seems so simple, maybe because it seems so simple, it just seems it's not powerful, but I can tell you it's one of the most powerful things you can do on a daily basis in order to get your vibration in the right space and your brain connected to the ethers. So with that, I'll be in touch with those of you that have submitted the applications. It's been my pleasure to be here with you. All my love to you. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. Now I'm going to figure out how to leave this thing. End the meeting. Bye, everybody.